Hey guys, I wanted to go over an opening. Icy Stun Cooch Teamy Defense. What's called the Broken Ice variation of this opening. Now, I didn't necessarily give this variation as much credit as as I now know it deserves. It's really interesting how this continues. So, as you know, in the Icepick attack, move up here. The reason why is because you really don't want this queen to become active. It coordinates very well with green's light squared bishop and queen. So you move up here to block off that pawn because you're threatening to take the bishop next, which would not be a very good position for blue. So one way to look at this is to think, okay, let's challenge the bishop, open up the light squared for a double attack on yellow. Now, the way that you continue this is first you block the check. So when green gets the queen active, what you can do is red, simply take. And this is the broken ice variation. I suggested in the last video you take with the pawn. You can't take with the queen because bishop comes in, takes the bishop. You can maybe try to ignore that, get the queen active or something, but then what are you going to do about this bishop? Pretty much the only real move I see here is to take with the pawn. And from here, if you want to maintain the tension as yellow, I made a mistake in the last video by suggesting this move, and Icy Stem pointed out, well, that's not really gonna work because then you lose a queen. So thank you, Icy. From here, I'm not quite sure how play continues, but I think this is definitely a line to consider. Here, the bishop sacrifice was to open up the blue king for all kinds of checks. So, some ideas to be aware of in this variation. Green and blue can facilitate a pretty strong attack against yellow if yellow is not careful. Red and yellow are looking to take advantage of this now exposed blue king by piling up attacks. And green is here to play either defense or offense depending on how the tides turn. So this is the broken ice variation. Another way that this might play out, or rather this idea might play out, is instead of moving the pawn up immediately, what you could do in the Icepick attack is you can move the knight up. Now this, the idea is to then move the pawn up, because now the rook defends, the knight is there for extra defense. So this is also a good opening to consider. Here I believe is yellow, still just go for the check. Now of course you have to move up with the pawn because you have a checkmate threat otherwise. Knight also works, but the pawn does open up the queen. So I think that might be a better option. Here is red, what you do is you move in. Now, if it's the case that blue decides to become greedy, that's really not gonna work out because yellow takes. Let's say the green bishop does that. Then red takes back, blue takes, check, check, exposed, move, and then from here, yellow just moves out of the way and red checkmates. And green has no checks. So, of course, you still have to be careful here as blue. And so I think the next move to consider is the pawn up here. Now here what you do is yellow, in order to counteract this little threat, is you make a threat of your own. And that is to take the knight, coordinate with the red queen. Either you can move the queen up or the knight up. Red then tries to join in on the light squared assault on blue in this variation. So here this variation is also a good one to look at and consider in the Icepick attack. A final note. When I was first looking at this opening, I was wondering, what if red and yellow just try to force their way through? And this actually doesn't work out at all. It's just kind of amusing how easily green and blue win in the situation. So the idea here is to just force your way through. Now, of course, to any experienced player, I believe this already looks kind of dubious for red and yellow, because it is. And then what green does is green moves in to coordinate with the blue queen, first for an attack, and then for follow-up serious damage on yellow. So play continues. After blue moves up, of course yellow has to defend against the checkmate. And then green moves in. And as red, I'm not quite sure what you do. Maybe you need to open up the king. Blue just goes here. And, oh, hey, kitty. Things are not looking too good for the yellow king. So just wanted to show you guys that other mini variation that really does not work at all. So this is the broken ice variation of the Icepick attack. Hope you liked the video. And if you think I missed anything, feel free to let me know. See you next time. Bye.